two men went up a hill wearing homemade lead masks. Neither of them came back, and honestly, the story starts about as normal as possible. A kid was just out flying a kite one afternoon when he suddenly noticed something weird in the bushes. Two grown men were lying there, side by side. They were dressed pretty neatly, too, which would be strange enough. But then he noticed the masks, actual pieces of lead covering their eyes. And yeah, he immediately decided he had seen enough. He ran down the hill and told the police what he'd found. So the police went up to check it out. And pretty quickly, they realized this wasn't a normal crime scene. There was no obvious struggle, no obvious attacker. The two men were eventually identified as electronics technicians. They were interested in electronics, experiments, and some pretty unusual ideas. Before leaving, they said goodbye to their families, packed their things, and apparently had a very specific plan. They bought tickets and headed out together. Just two guys sitting on a bus, probably looking completely normal to everyone around them. But they weren't going on a normal trip. They were heading somewhere isolated. Once they arrived, they bought raincoats. They also bought water, which sounds boring until you remember where this story is going. At one point, the two men stopped at a local bar, and according to accounts surrounding the case, they seemed nervous. They were checking the time, because apparently timing mattered. Eventually, they left. No explanation. Just straight back toward the hill. And whatever they were planning, they were now going through with it. They climbed higher and higher, carrying everything they had brought with them. Then the rain started, so they put on their raincoats and kept going. Eventually, they reached a quiet spot near the top. And this is where things get really strange. One of the men pulled out a small notebook. Inside were handwritten notes, including numbers, instructions, and strange phrases. There were even specific times written down. 6:30, and another later time. So whatever they were expecting, they seemed to think it was happening on a schedule. They also had capsules with them. And this is where investigators really started asking questions, because the men apparently took them before lying down on that hill. And then they pulled out the lead masks. They strapped them over their eyes and laid down. Whatever they believed was about to happen. This was the moment they were waiting for. The two men simply lay there, side by side, wearing the masks. And then night came. But nobody came to meet them. Nobody came to explain what happened. They just stayed there. Eventually, their bodies were taken away for examination. And investigators still didn't have a clear answer. The autopsy didn't magically solve the mystery either. There was no simple explanation sitting right in front of them. Tests didn't give investigators the obvious answer they were looking for. So the biggest question remained. What exactly were these men trying to do? Some theories suggested they were protecting themselves from radiation, or preparing for some kind of experiment. But nothing conclusively proved it. And naturally, once people heard about the masks, the theories went absolutely insane. UFOs, cults, secret experiments. Take your pick. But after all these years, we still don't know exactly what they thought was going to happen on that hill. We only know what they left behind. 2 empty lead masks, and one of the strangest unsolved mysteries ever found on a hillside. Whatever those two men were waiting for, it never came.